Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I am Dr. Boyce Watkins, and sorry, I talked like I didn't know who I was for a second, but I was thinking about something. I wanted to come here for a second and talk to you guys about something that was sent over to me not too long ago involving Venus and Serena Williams. Venus and Serena Williams, as these are tennis legends like no other. These are two young ladies who've accomplished quite a bit in their lives. And what I really like about their family, actually, is the fact that they have remained pretty unified throughout the years. I mean, you never really heard about any drama, any craziness, any ratchet stuff as far as, siblings fighting and all that other stuff. And also, I want to give a big shout out to their father, Richard Williams, who helped mentor them, and push them to be the best that they could be. I think that is an extremely important part of parenting. I can say as a Black father myself, I like it when Black fathers get their props, for what we do with our children. A lot of times people want to vilify the father, because again, they don't have a high opinion of Black men. And I believe, and give me a yes or no if you agree with me, if you understand what I'm saying. If you go back to look at Joe Jackson or the way they used to talk about Tiger Woods' father, stuff like that, they always wanted to find some reason to vilify the Black father. And people don't understand that there's a linkage between that mentality and basically slavery. Ever since slavery, the goal was always to demonize the Black man and to make the Black man look like a villain or a bad guy, or filled with toxic masculinity, or that he's being too mean, he's abusing his kids because he's making them actually work hard to achieve their goals. Beyonce's daddy, they dog him out. Like everybody, think about this: every Black celebrity you can think of who had a strong father, pretty much had a father who was demonized. I mean, I don't know. Like, seriously, I'm thinking about it. Venus and Serena's daddy, Richard Williams, they talked about him like he was crazy. Tiger Woods' daddy, I remember them writing an article about Tiger Woods' daddy, basically making him look like he was a lunatic and that he was arrogant and all this other stuff. Michael Jackson's daddy, Joe Jackson, they talk major crap about Joe Jackson. And the list goes on and on. And the thing is, I think, just as Black people, because remember, we're Black first up in here. If you believe in being Black first, type B1 in the chat. If you're Black first, please type B1 in the chat. Because, I think it's important for us as Black people to have these hard conversations with the world and to, really talk about this, really talk about, the things that mainstream media won't discuss, right? The things that mainstream media tells you, oh, it's just a figment of your imagination. Oh, it's not really like that. Oh, racism is a thing of the past. No, it's not, you idiot. Racism is not a thing of the past. Racism is alive. It's well. It's thriving. It's getting stronger every year in some segments of society. So stop telling me that racism is a figment of my imagination, because you're sort of positioning Black people to be weak, because we're sort of being, fed to slaughter. You're being led to slaughter because they put you to sleep by making you think America is not America anymore. And so with that said, do me a favor, guys. If you could, please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. If you haven't done this, on the count of three, everybody hit the thumbs up button. And if you're on Financial Juneteenth TV, Financial Juneteenth TV is one of our financial channels. We're building a network. We believe in Black ownership of media. That is very important for us. Because we believe Black people need to control our own images. So if you can support us in that quest by at least hitting the subscribe button, wherever you are, subscribing, the notification bell, and the thumbs up button right now, I would appreciate that very much. Now, if you really want to help us push the Black media agenda, we'd love to have you as a patron. If you go to intelligentblackpeople.com, that's intelligentblackpeople.com. You can actually sign up as a patron, and we will give you lots of free stuff in exchange. And so it's not a donation, it's not charity. It's Black people helping each other. We help you, you help us, everybody wins. So please do that. We got to do that housekeeping when we do these live streams. So let me hop in and break some of this down. Now, why am I talking to you today? I'm talking to you today because Venus and Serena have become part owners of the Miami Dolphins. And I just want to be the first ones to, give them a clap, not even a slow clap. Well, the slow clap is like this, but I want to give them a round of applause, standing ovation, because I think that what they're doing is extraordinary. I'm very proud of them. I think that they have conducted themselves, as quality human beings for the entirety of their career. I have a lot of respect for both of them. Now, of course, you guys know, sometimes I make little jokes about interracial relationships, not because I'm dissing people, but because I just really kind of want black folks to stop thinking that the white man's ice is colder, right? Or thinking that somehow you got to upgrade because you did a Meghan Markle, right? So y'all see me kind of make jokes about Serena and the little nerdy guy she got as her husband, but then again, though, that's her life, that's her choice, right? That's her decision. But at the same time, I do believe in putting black women at the top of the pile in terms of choice. I believe that black men deserve the same. And so I don't think you could talk about black power without talking about black love. I don't believe, can we agree on that? Give me a yes or no if you understand what I'm saying, that black love is powerful. Black love is important. Black love is revolutionary because black love connects directly to black existence and black, not just black existence, black success, and the ability to survive. Black survival is contingent upon black love, right? Where your wealth goes. Like when we talk about Byron Allen, having hundreds of millions of dollars, if he's gonna die and leave all that to Becky, I don't know his wife's name, but we just gonna call her Becky. There's Becky and Brad. That's because I can't remember. I'm not good with names, so everybody becomes Becky, Becky and Brad for me. No disrespect, but that's just what it is, right? So anyway, so if you're leaving all your wealth to Becky and Brad, then the black community, I don't really see exactly how the black community benefits from what you got going on. I'm just going to be honest with you. And some people got real mad at me on Instagram, on my Instagram, which is the real Boyce Watkins. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's the real Boyce Watkins. I put up a picture of, I saw the national championship game last night, and I saw Randy Moss, the great football player, had a son who plays for LSU, and his son, I said, his son's not the athlete Randy used to be. I'm a sports guy, so I could tell the difference between the superstar athlete and the okay athlete. And I said, his son don't come off like a stud like his daddy was. His son kind of comes off kind of like he's good, but he's not a Randy Moss. But that's okay. No, very few of us are Randy Moss. I said he's also very light skinned. I said, did he have a baby? Is his mama Becky? Did Becky give birth to that baby? Because something may happen. Something may right in the gene pool, right? His genes have been kind of watered down a little bit. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I'm just being honest with you. I can't apologize for who I am. So if it makes you uncomfortable, you probably want to get the fuck out. And so I looked it up. I did a little Google search. Google's great. Google will give you all the information you need. And I find this lady, we'll just call her Becky, again, because everybody's Becky. And and it fit the stereotype. The first headline I see is Randy Moss's baby's mama denies spending $4 million on drugs. That was literally the first headline I saw, right? And the stereotype, like that you got these brothers, they got all this money and all this wealth, and then they go and they will literally marry or date whatever the dog drags in. Like they'll date a woman where you're just like, that's not a fit. Like he's a 9, she's a 3. How did that happen? Right? And people got real mad at me for this. And I even got relatives that I probably have to explain that to, because I got people in my own family who made that decision. I'm not dissing them, but I remember it just kind of made me, I don't know. Tell me if I'm crazy or not, or if I'm being a jerk or an asshole for even bringing this up. But I feel like it's an insult to black women, when these brothers will go and pass up all these gorgeous women that they meet along the way and end up dating like Shrek, like seriously, like literally be bringing home somebody that you just like, what was going through your mind that day? Were you drunk the entire year? Like, how did that happen? Like, did she drug your drink? Like, what the fuck, man? So that's just my truth. I'm not, so here's the deal though, right? If we have these conversations about the men, then sometimes we got to have the conversations about the women. I think that in many cases, I've seen situations, and I go with my gut. I trust my instincts on things. And sometimes I feel that you have some women that feel that by marrying outside of the black community, they're getting some sort of upgrade, right? And I'm talking about this because Serena, Serena's in that category. Serena got that man that she married. I don't even care. I don't want to marry Serena, whatever, right? But it's like, and then you see, it's like a Meghan Markle thing, right? Or how many women were so happy for Meghan Markle because she married that redheaded white boy who got his money from slave masters, right? Over in England, like they literally got their money from colonization and slavery. Like that's really how the British royal family got all their wealth, is from black people. Like that's really black wealth that's been transferred to somebody else's hands. Let's just be clear. And or Lonnie Love on The View, who decides, like, because I want to show off my white boyfriend, I'm going to go crap all over black men. I just don't like any of that. And a lot of it, is, maybe for the men, there's a motivation. I don't think the men, the guys that tend to chase, like I'm not talking about people that just sort of randomly fall in love with somebody. That's one thing, but people who consistently chase other races as if blackness is inferior, right? Or they'll go to other races because they want to get away from blackness, or because they're just sick of what they've seen in the black community. Or Tamron Hall, marry some guy in the industry. Like that's a big move. A lot of times it becomes a power move. Basically, it's a power move. A lot of times, if you see that, you can go. I like to Google the husband to try to see, like, what was the power move here? Was there a power move when the lady that ran for president, Kamala Harris? I said, what was the power move? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, he's a high-powered lawyer in San Francisco that could actually help her rise through California politics. Okay, that makes sense. All right. What's the power move with Meghan Markle? Oh, he's the prince. He's got all his money from slave masters. Okay, what's the power move for Lonnie Love? Okay, her man's an actress or an actor, and he can get her opportunities, right? What's the power move for Tamron Hall? Boom, boom. Oh, he's in the industry and he has a lot of money. Okay, that makes sense, right? So, I'm not blaming people for the choices they make. It is what it is, but I think that, the same way people have the right to do it if they want to do, people have the right to really talk about it, and to sort of talk about it as a community, to say, black is best. If you got to go with a second rate option because that's what your mind tells you to do, that's fine. But I believe black is best. And I think that's very important for black pride. I think it's very important for us to be proud of who we are. And if you think that these issues, a lot of times some people ask me, why are you talking about relationships? You're a financial guy. Well, if you don't understand relationships, you'll never understand economics, because all economics ain't nothing but relationships. Back 100 years ago, people got married because they wanted to form financial unions with each other. Like the king of, this country would say, I want my daughter to marry the son of the king of the other country. And then the two kingdoms would merge. So marriage in many cases was an economic move. The unions of power are where powernomics is played, right? So speaking of powernomics, though, one thing the Williams family has done, actually, before I move on, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that. Very important right now. Please hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button. Also, some of you are asking about, shirts like this, where I got the shirt. We actually have a t-shirt line. It's wokeblacktees.com. That's wokeblacktees.com. So feel free to go to wokeblacktees.com if you want to go check out some of our t-shirts. All right. So Serena and Venus, in a good power move, basically they both decided together to go and invest in the Miami Dolphins. So they're both minority owners. And a lot of people were asking me about it in terms of trying to sort of contextualize it. Like, what does this mean? What does this mean for black people? How do black people win from this? How do you break this down? And first of all, in terms of what black people don't get anything from it, right? This isn't like a power move in terms of, like, oh yeah, black people, this is a big win for black folks. And I have to lay that out there because a lot of us make the mistake of assuming that something's a win when it's really not a win. Part of the reason that your community falls behind is because there are times when you think you're winning when really you haven't won anything. And there are times when you're losing when you're not even aware that you're losing. You're not aware of how much you're losing, how much you're giving up, right? So, is the ownership of part ownership of the Miami Dolphins relevant for the black community? No, it's symbolic. It's very symbolic. It is it's a pat on the ass. It's a slight ego booster. It gives you some self-esteem from the symbolism of saying, okay, great. They accept us. They let one of us in. Right. But they didn't let all of us in. They didn't let a chunk of us in. They didn't let thousands of us in. They let a couple of us in. right? And that's a lot like the movie The Hunger Games. In The Hunger Games, that's what the whole Hunger Games was about. It was how the elites, the oppressive elites, would allow a couple of oppressed people in, and then parade the fact that they let them in, and then everybody would say, "Oh, look at that! They let us in." Or, "Oh, if they got in, then that means I've got a chance to get in." And it's no, that's not true. They're not letting all of you in. It is, thank you, Jabless Forever. It is the illusion of inclusion. So somebody type illusion in the chat. Type the word illusion in the chat. It's very important to understand the nature of the illusion so that you don't get played, so that you don't get lied to, so that you don't think that peanut butter is jelly and hamburgers are fish. They are not the same thing, right? So, but the symbolism means something, right? It's great. The Williams sisters are intelligent. They worked hard. When I was at Nike, I went to go visit with the president of the Jordan brand. I happen to know the guy, great brother named Larry Miller. And so we were over there walking around the Nike campus. It's a beautiful campus, big, beautiful buildings. And I was in the Michael Jordan building, which was nice. And then I'm walking around the Nike campus and I'm seeing, they're like, "Oh, this is the Tiger Woods Conference Center. Oh, that's the John McEnroe building." That's, and I'm thinking that's pretty cool. And then I see this giant building in the background. It's massive structure, beautiful building. It looked different from all the other buildings, and it was taller than all the other buildings. And I said, "What is that?" And they said, "Oh, that's going to be the Serena Williams building, which will be the tallest building on the entire Nike campus," right? So Serena, deservedly so, as a person who is arguably the greatest athlete of the last 100 years, or at least top 2, top 3, right? Depends on how you look at it. Some people want to put a Michael Jordan ahead of her, but I think honestly that's a little sexist. When I look at the stats, I have to put my money on Serena. Tiger had a chance to be the greatest, but Tiger kind of, again, well, he got derailed by that. He's married to Becky, and Becky tried to put a golf club upside his head. Probably gave him some brain damage that night. So Tiger had a shot, but he missed his shot, in my opinion. Serena, I believe, earned it. So Serena, had a great career, and so these are extraordinary women. And now here's what an NFL team ownership actually means. Ownership in the NFL, in my opinion, from what I've read in terms of the analysis I've done, and how the teams make their money, how much money they actually make. Ownership of an NFL team is, in my opinion, more of a vanity investment. It's more of an investment that's done more so for publicity. It's done more so to say, "Look at me, I'm an NFL owner." NFL ownership is hard to obtain. White folks really guard NFL ownership. That's why they don't let black people in. I don't think there are any black majority owners in the NFL. I would say the answer is no. Venus and Serena are the first 2 black women as minority owners that they've allowed in. Now, you can look at that in a couple of ways. You can look at that on one hand. You could say, "Oh my God, this is great. This is black history." I say that's bullshit. I call BS on that analysis, because you should never, pay attention, listen to me, black people. You should never allow your oppressor to use their institutions to define black history for you. Never let your oppressor tell you what is black history and what is not black history. We decide what's going to be black history and what's not black history. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're giving them an unprecedented, unbelievable amount of power when you do that. When Tamron Hall got her job at the Today Show, I read something in Essence magazine where they said Tamron made black history by being the first black woman to be a host on the Today Show. I said, no, she didn't. Are you telling me that these people? So what you're basically telling me is that these people have the power of God to define whether or not they're going to allow you to make history or not. The reason Tamron got that job is because some white guy at the Today Show decided, okay, we're going to give her a job. So because somebody gave you a damn job, they get to define who the greatest black people in history have been. They get to define who your heroes are going to be. They get to define, they can pick any Negro off the street. They can pick the biggest clown, the biggest buffoon, the biggest Mammy Jezebel. They can pick the biggest, the most ignorant, rapper, right? And put him on TV. And then because that Negro got a job, you're like, oh my God, this is black history. They picked him. You don't do that. You don't do that. So no, Tamron Hall did not make black history by being on the Today Show. Who gives a shit about the Today Show? The Today Show should be ashamed of the fact that they never hired a black person in the first place. right? So when Venus and Serena are proudly paraded as the first two black women to become minority owners in the NFL, that is a source of shame. In my mind, that should be a source of shame for those institutions to say, well, why didn't you let any black women in 50 years ago? Black women should have had the first minority black female owner in 1950. So it's 2020, and I'm supposed to get all excited because you let a couple people in. And when you deliver, that means you spent 100 years blocking black people out. You follow what I'm saying? The fact that it took you 100 years to let a couple in means you spent 100 years blocking people out. Now, here's the thing. While I certainly will call you out for that, I'm not real mad at them. I'm not mad at the NFL for blocking black people out. I'm not mad at the NFL for blocking black people out of their institutions. That's your house. I'm mad at black people for letting go of the Negro leagues when you actually own the whole motherfucking league. I'm going to stop cussing. I'm sorry. It's too early for me to be cussing. I promise you, I'm going to try my best to stop this because some of y'all got kids watching. But my daddy used to cuss in front of me all the time. So don't stop worrying about what your kids are hearing, man. They're hearing all the words at school anyway. Listen. You as a people, the reason that you've gone backward and the reason that you're celebrating scraps and crumbs is because you threw away the whole feast so you could get a peanut butter sandwich, right? You own the whole damn kitchen and all the food that was in it. The Negro Leagues have the best athletes on earth, and you gave all that away so that a couple of y'all could go get a job working for white folks. Now, if you stupid enough to take a dumb deal like that, then that's your problem. That's your fault. That's your self-esteem issue. So I'm not celebrating. I don't give a shit if the Miami Dolphins decide they want to let a couple of black people into their ownership structure. First of all, let's just be clear. Let's keep it 100. This is probably a Jay-Z deal anyway. Y'all remember the Jay-Z deal with the Brooklyn Nets, right? Or Brooklyn, or I guess they're the Brooklyn. Yeah, the Brooklyn Nets. Y'all remember the Jay-Z deal where Jay-Z was paraded on a billboard as big as life. Now, I talked to Cornel West about this for a very long time. I met Cornel in Midtown Manhattan at a restaurant. Wonderful man. Love this man. And we talked for 7 hours that day. 7 hours. And he gave me the lowdown. He said, when the Brooklyn Nets were coming to Brooklyn, he said, we were protesting because we wanted to make sure the people in that community were not gentrified out and that they got jobs working on the project. The Russian billionaire, the Russians that came in to buy on the team, called him on the phone, according to what I recall from the conversation, called him on the phone and said, what do we need to do to make the protest stop? They basically wanted to bring him in on the deal. Now, one thing that they learned quickly about Cornel West is that Cornel West is not a Negro that can be bought. In fact, he ain't even a Negro. He's a black man. Cornel West can't be bought from what I've seen. So Cornel said, there's nothing you can do. You can give jobs to the people and then we'll stop. Right. So they were like, OK, we can't do that. That's expensive. So what they did was they said, we'll go find a Negro that can be bought. So they go to Jay-Z. No diss on Jay-Z, but it's, life facts are facts, man. Maybe there's contradicting facts that I should be aware of and someone's watching. Email, call me, talk to me, tell me, give me other facts and I'll present those facts too. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything. But so to get Jay-Z, they put Jay-Z on a billboard. They make Jay-Z a minority owner in the team. He ends up owning 1/15 of 1% of the team. That means if you take the team and you divide it into 100 pieces, you take the team, divide it into 100 pieces, and then take one of those 100 pieces and chop it into 15 slices, Jay-Z got 1/15 of that one tiny little slice, right? That's what he got. That's what his ownership share was. But what they did was they put him on a billboard to give the impression to those who are not financially educated, who don't understand economics, to those who don't understand power, those who celebrate symbolism. And they said, if we just put him on a billboard in Times Square, people are going to read between the lines and make the assumption that he's a big owner, that he's owning the Nets. And so you have people running around saying Jay-Z is buying the Brooklyn Nets because we want to believe in our heroes, even though some of your heroes ain't really as heroic as they appear to be. Not that Jay-Z ain't got some money, not that Jay-Z's not a good guy, but we tend to exaggerate and celebrate things that are not real. Right? We celebrate the symbolism instead of searching for the substance, right? So remember, you can't just celebrate the symbolism and not search for the substance, because if you do that, then people are going to see that and they're going to play you off of that, right? So we celebrate the symbolism and we don't search for the substance, so then we end up getting played. So basically, by taking a minority owner who owns 1/15 of 1%, literally, if you took the team and chopped it into 1,500 pieces, Jay-Z gets one out of the 1,500 pieces. And then you put him on a billboard to give the impression that he's the majority owner. At that point, they've made you a mascot. You're a mascot. You might as well, go to the game and put on a mascot helmet and an outfit, maybe like a bear costume, and go out and dance in the stands. Because, they always like the black men to be the mascots. I went to a Bulls game last week, and that Chicago Bull is black. I'm really dying to find out who the mascot is of the Chicago Bulls. And I said to Alicia, I said, ain't it funny that they always get the black mascot, the black guy to be the mascot? Like, seriously, anybody notice that? You ever notice how they start playing a hip hop song and the mascot will be doing some kind of, he'll be dancing you'd be like, okay, that's a black man under that suit. That's not that. White people cannot dance that way, right? Not the stereotype, but you don't know what I'm talking about, right? So basically, in many cases, black people make wonderful mascots. They like that. They like black people as mascots. So really, a lot of people that brought this whole Serena Williams thing to me, they were kind of wondering if it was another Jay-Z situation. Are they mass marketing? Because remember, all these stories don't end up in the press by accident. Somebody has to do a press release. Somebody makes that announcement. So somebody probably brought them in the ownership structure so that they could get some good publicity for the Miami Dolphins, who actually, if you follow football, they're an otherwise very crappy football team. They're literally among the worst teams in the NFL, and they've been that way for quite a while. So this is what I'm really seeing here. I'm not saying that the deal is bad. I'll say from a financial standpoint, I don't necessarily think NBA team or NFL teams are wildly profitable. I think the Green Bay Packers are the only team that's required to release, from what I understand, they're the only team that's required to publicly release their information on revenues, expenses, and profitability. And I think they only made $34 million in profit last year, right? So if you got a bunch of owners and they're all splitting up $34 million for multimillionaires, that's not a lot of money, right? Now, where they can make some money is on the growth and the value of the teams. These teams go up in value tremendously. I tried to find in fact, I meant to look that up. Let's see. What is the market value? Do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button while I do this. Please do that. Hit the thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe, especially if you're watching on Financial Juneteenth TV. I want you guys to subscribe to that channel. Let me see. What is the market value of the Miami Dolphins? Let me see. Google is your friend. The Miami Dolphins franchise worth in 2019, from 2002 to 2019. Okay. It says here the Miami Dolphins are worth $2.8 billion. And if you look at the chart, what's interesting is that if you go back to 2002, they were only worth $500 million. So they've grown in value almost 6 times. They're almost about 5.5 times more valuable now than they were in 2002. So imagine if you buy a house for $100,000 in 2002. In 2019, the house is worth 200, or sorry, let me make sure I get that right. Do the math right. I'm a little slow this morning. The house is worth almost $600,000 by 2019. That's a pretty good deal, right? You're going to be proud of that. You're going to say, okay, I made a good investment. So a lot of their wealth will probably come from the capital gains growth in value of the team. And for that regard, I'm very happy for Venus and Serena. Now, in terms of what this really means for Black folks, I'm going to tell you, for Black people, what I really think you should probably pay attention to is how much money and how much wealth the white community has generated by owning their own sports league. This idea that we're trying to break in to their institution to get them to let us own a piece of what they have really defines very clearly the power structure in the United States, the power structure that you've submitted to, economic white supremacy that you have sort of aligned yourself with, that you're devoted to supporting. And let me explain. Can you imagine, the United States? Let's say that all the white guys in America decided we're going to get rid of all of our businesses and we're going to all go work for Chinese companies. What do you think would happen to American wealth? Would American wealth go up or down if all American businessmen and businesswomen decided we're going to eliminate all of our companies and absorb ourselves, our work, we're all going to become laborers and we're all going to go work for Chinese companies? Would American wealth go up or down relative to Chinese wealth? Who wins that deal? Who gets it? Would American wealth go up or down? Give me an up or down in the chat. Let me know. Would it go up or down if we decided to annihilate all the businesses that we have in the United States to go work for Chinese companies? It would go down. It would go down. That would not be considered to be a power move. It also, if you look at America, think about this. Now, to go back, think about integration. In integration, what happened with integration, which was one of the worst things that ever happened to you economically. What happened was you had businesses in your own communities. You had your own sports league. You actually had a black version of NASCAR with a fan base that was bigger than what the NFL had at that time, right? This black NASCAR, they had these black race car drivers who were celebrities who would go from city to city and compete with one another. And they would have stands full of people and they were making millions of dollars every year. And that all got shut down. And now we have so demoted ourselves to the point where we're not thinking about trying to own an entire NASCAR league. We are actually, really proud when one black guy gets to be an owner of a NASCAR team, right? Or when one black driver gets to get on a NASCAR course, right? So you traded the ownership of the entire space, again, for a tiny little crumb. You gave away the whole feast for a peanut butter sandwich. Like you controlled the kitchen, all the food in it, and you traded that in for a fucking Pop-Tart. And they throw you the crumbs of the Pop-Tart, and you're like, thank you, master, for the crumbs. Maybe next time I can get a whole Pop-Tart for myself. So you've basically demoted yourself, and your self-esteem, your economic self-esteem has dropped tremendously, and which connects to your social and other forms of self-esteem. Think about this too. When you talk about integration, what you saw was a segment of black people that went from being ownership class, meaning ownership and control, to becoming working class in America. So you got some people that are owners, some people work for the owners, all that money circulating back into the black community because everybody is either hiring black people, buying from black people, spending money with black people, or making donations to black people, right? So you're trading the ownership class for working class. Now, think about this in the whole scheme of how America works. America is a capitalist society. If you go back and look at the last 100 years, who has done better in America in terms of power? The working class or the ownership class? The poor working guy or the wealthy guy? Who's done better in America? The working class or the ownership class? Who has more power in America? Working class or ownership class? What do you think? The reason I bring this point to you in a very simple, laid out, structured context is to say that when you as a community decide to integrate yourselves, what's happened is you get basically almost like a company swallowing up another company. You got swallowed up. It's one thing if they buy your company from you. They didn't even buy your company from you. You dissolved your businesses so you could go work for white folks. So you went from ownership and power and control, to subordinated status of pretty much just being workers. You went from being real parents to becoming economic babysitters, right? A real parent has a real child that's really theirs, and they get to raise that child and decide what's going to happen with that child. A babysitter ain't got no power. A babysitter is pretty much the fill-in for when the real parent is not around. The babysitter doesn't get to decide where the child goes to school, what the child's going to eat, how the child's going to be raised. And when the child does get raised and ends up going on and doing amazing things, the babysitter doesn't get a lot of credit. The parents do. So basically, when you are working for others, when you are committed to being that laboring class, You're giving away your chance to be a real parent, to becoming an economic babysitter. So anyway, hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button. Also, don't forget we have a stock market investing class. If you want to learn how to invest in the stock market, you can get a 30-day free trial if you go to theblackstockmarketprogram.com. THE, that's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. What do I think about the big three? I think the big three is good. I like the vision of the big three. When you're and the operative word in the big three is big. You got to think big. Black people don't win in America, I believe, because we don't really think big. We think small, right? So, and if we do think big, we don't. Excuse me. A lot of the people I know who do think big don't execute big, right? You got to have big dreams, and you got to have big courage, and you got to have big commitment. If you have big dreams, big courage, and big commitment, then you'll have big execution, which means that eventually you'll give birth to big things, right? And that's one of the things I found is that. Most people I know, either they're thinking small, they're very smart, but thinking small. I had that problem in academia when I was at Syracuse University. I would meet these brilliant Black people who are all PhDs in all these different areas, but they'd be thinking super small. They'd be like, well, I'm going to work on this one little tiny research problem and sit in my office and write research papers that nobody's going to read. And then I'm hoping that in 7 years, this university is going to give me tenure, which is a lifetime job, basically. That's what they would commit themselves to. And I remember thinking, your life is short. Like, why would you dedicate your entire brilliant mind and all of your youth and the bulk of your future to supporting somebody else's institution who doesn't even like you, the school that don't even want to hire Black people, really, but you're going to dedicate your life to trying to impress these people? That was weird to me. That seemed like small thinking to me. I was like, why don't we all get together, form something massive, and create something that can create hundreds of jobs for Black people? Like, we can do this. If anybody can do it, it's got to be us, because we're the smartest ones out here. We have the PhDs and all this other stuff. So thinking small is a dream killer. Doesn't matter how brilliant you are. If you think small, you won't accomplish much. But then when you start thinking big, you have to have a big amount of courage and a big amount of execution, commitment, which leads to the execution. So the big courage means that when you think big and you go for something big, like if you are the person who has the audacity to say, I'm going to create a sports league, well, some shit's going to go wrong. You're going to have some days where you're going to be like, what was I thinking? Like, this ain't going to work. I go through that. I went through that a lot. I go through it less now because now I'm seeing some of my vision become fruition. Like, I can go to any city around the world and I'll bump into Black people on the street who will tell me that I had an impact on their life. That is easy. That makes it easier because I'm like, okay, this is confirmation that my plan is working. But remember, for many years, I never had that confirmation. For many years, I was just out here just running my mouth. And even to this day, I mean, every other day I have somebody come and tell me that what I'm doing is going to cause a problem or get me in trouble or whatever. Just this morning, I said something on Instagram and somebody's like, people are unsubscribing. People don't like you anymore. I'm like, man, fuck that. Seriously, like, I got to the point where I'm like, I have a vision. I'm moving forward. You move forward with your vision too, Black people. Like, seriously, like you're going to have stuff that's not going to work. Some stuff is going to blow up in your face. And big courage means that you just every day you're like, I got a big dream. I'm committed to that dream. I'm moving forward. That's it. That's all there is to it. Ain't nothing else to talk about, and I really believe that sort of stubbornness in terms of commitment works for almost anything that you want to do. If that's whether you're talking about trying to lose weight, trying to raise your kids in a different way. My mama used to get all kinds of flack from all the other mamas, who had kids the age that we were. And they would tell her like, oh, you're being too strict, or oh, you're doing this, or oh, you're doing that wrong. And my mother's like, no, my kids are going to be successful. And do you know that despite the fact that I didn't have any friends, most of my friends did not become successful growing up. I mean, in terms of really doing some stuff that's impactful, some of them are not in jail. Some of them didn't get killed. Right. But it wasn't like they went off and did great things. My mother was able to say, look, my oldest son was born in the projects and he's a professor. My sister is a doctor, and my brother went to an Ivy League school. And the reason that my mother had a different outcome is because my mother had a bigger dream and she was committed to it. And that's what it takes. Like, you got to be committed to whatever it is you're trying to do. So I think that for Black folks, I think that fear is huge. I don't understand. I still can't figure out why 10 big name Black celebrities can't get together and just say, we're launching a professional sports league. We're calling on all the black athletes who want to play football. And even if you're not good enough to be in the NFL right now or whatever, all the guys who don't have an NFL contract, come play for us. And we're going to market the shit out of you. We're going to market your story. That's what it is. It's all about selling the story. It's all about the brand, right? Think about it. Last night, millions of people watched the college football championship. And it wasn't because the college players are the best players in the world. It was because college players have a brand, right? College players are not better than NFL players. The Miami Dolphins have better players than pretty much everybody that was on the field last night. On the field, you might have seen 7 guys that could be NFL players. The Miami Dolphins have 50 guys who are NFL players. So why is it that more people will watch Clemson versus LSU than will watch Miami versus Tampa Bay? It's because of branding. That's all it is. It all comes down to people knowing the athletes that are on the field, knowing the story, being committed to a team. So I really just think I would just love it. I think it would be so much fun. I wish I knew these people. I don't hang with a lot of celebrities because I just don't get along with a lot of them very much. They just end up not liking me because I end up pissing people off. But it would be so much fun to sit down with, let's say, 10 black celebrities with a combined net worth of $500 million, who also have connections, which will probably be worth billions of dollars, and big Instagram accounts, and formulate a plan that says, look, okay, we're going to put in a little bit of your money. We're going to go get a lot more money from the community, from your corporate partners, maybe from some banks. And we're going to pull together about $1 billion and start a little, NFL style sports league right now. And you're going to all own a franchise. And at that point, it's a matter of us going to war together and every week strategizing on how we're going to brand these teams and brand these stories using your, combined 100 million Instagram followers. LeBron, you got 100 million probably by yourself. I don't know, 50 million, whatever his number is, right? Right. Kanye, you can join too. You got 60 million, right? Like, and literally just saying, okay, here's the narrative that we're going to push every single week to ensure that people are aware of what we're doing. And also aware of how they can support this and how we can make this the coolest thing ever. And then what will happen is you'll flip the world on its head, right? Instead of having black people clamoring to own 1% of an NFL team, like begging, the Miami Dolphins or whoever, or the Dallas Cowboys to let you own a tiny percent of what they've got, they'll be begging to own a tiny percent of what you've got. Right. So even if these sports teams were not worth $3 billion like NFL teams, it might take, 30, 40, 50 years for that to happen. But let's say that they were all worth 100 million, and then on top of that, you're employing hundreds of black people. Right. And then on top of that, you've got hundreds of businesses that are built off of the business that you have. You see, when you build something big like a sports league, you've got hundreds, probably thousands of businesses that are suppliers to that league, that are connected to that league. So you're talking about a major play. You're talking about a big play here. The big three, you're talking about something big. You're not talking about like we got one Negro he's got a little job who's working for the. That's nothing, man. What you want is you want outcomes that actually impact the world on an industrial scale. You want to be able to say, we employed 10,000 people last year, right? That's what you aim for. And so if you want to know what the limitation is for the black community, in my opinion, economically, is that y'all don't think big. You're thinking about like, how do I get myself one job, when really we should be saying, how do we create 10,000 jobs? How do we create, how do I as an entrepreneur create, 15, 20 jobs for the people that I know, right? Instead of creating one job for myself. Right. So that's my 2 cents on it. I'm not criticizing what Venus and Serena are doing. I want to make that clear. I'm very happy for them. I'm just going to say I don't really care that much. Like I'm tired of all these like little like so-and-so's the first black person to do whatever. Basically, what you're saying to me in most cases is this is the first black person to be acknowledged by white people. And therefore, that makes that person special. So to some extent, what you are is you're a white supremacist. When you think that we're supposed to have a party and start buck dancing because a black person got acknowledged by white people, then that makes you a white supremacist, in my opinion. You're basically saying that there's something so special about him. Maybe his pee tastes like Kool-Aid and his farts smell like cupcakes. And so because that person has acknowledged us, I'm now somebody. And before they acknowledged me, I was a nobody. So look at me, I made a come up. So basically, to some extent, as a community, we're kind of all a bunch of Meghan Markles, right? You know, we get married to the redhead white boy who made his money from being a slave master, and we celebrate that, and we get all giddy, and the women are getting all moist between the legs, and the men are all everybody's like so excited, like, oh my God, they acknowledged us, they paid attention to us, they gave us their attention. Right. So to some extent, that's kind of what we do in almost every aspect of life. And this is not a diss on Meghan Markle. God bless her. I don't even know the lady. But what I'm really trying to say to you is that, you know, you have the power already in your hand. Like, you are the epicenter of greatness. Like, you are the center of gravity when it comes to most things that are great in this world. You have the best athletes on the planet already. Right. So it really doesn't make any sense whatsoever that this community that literally has trillions of dollars in economic power and value just right there in that community, that you're spending all your time looking for love in all the wrong places, chasing other people down, begging them to acknowledge you, celebrating like you on a plantation every time they decide to throw you a couple of crumbs and a couple of scraps. You got to set your expectations higher. Expectations are one of the keys to success. If your expectations are low, then your success will be low. If your expectations are high, then you're going to have a different level of success. So start thinking bigger. That's the point. You got to start thinking bigger. Anyway, I'm going to go. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button right now. If everybody could hit the thumbs up button, wherever you're watching, hit the subscribe button also, especially on Financial Juneteenth TV. This is one of our financial channels, and we're trying to grow this. We have the audacity of thinking that we can actually own our own media. So I hope that you will join us in that quest. Also, just reminders. Some of you were asking about these shirts. We have shirts. We have a t-shirt line at wokeblacktees.com. They're very, very black, really black shirts, kind of shirts that'll piss off your relatives, I'm sure. So feel free to go to wokeblacktees.com. Also, I'll be in New Orleans this weekend, but the New Orleans is sold out, so there's no more tickets for the actual event. But if you want to actually check out the live stream, you can go to drboyceneworleans.com. That's drboyceneworleans.com. If you join our lecture series, you can get the first month free. You can actually get access to the live stream as well as all the other lectures that we've done on economics. And also, last but not least, if you want your children to join our Black Business School for Children, you can go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. What we're doing is we're creating the young people who are going to become the older people in a generation who are actually going to implement big visions. They're not going to be trying to get an NFL contract or an NBA contract. They're going to actually go and try to become NFL owners, NBA owners, or start their own sports league. We're training people now to think big, and that's the goal for this generation. So have a good day, everybody. It was good seeing you, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Peace.